if we prioritize our needs, our desires, what fuels us, what our desires are more, we're going to see more healing. We're going to see way more dazzling lives. What's up, my gorgeous? Welcome to the Divine Living Podcast, recording it live from my home in Tuscany today. And just want to start with grounding. Just want to start with breathing. I think that we are just living so much of our lives in busyness and thinking from the neck up and being concerned or worried about whatever might happen or didn't happen, or whatever way life isn't going in the way that we desire to go in. So today is going to be a day of surrender. Today is going to be a day of anchoring into truth. Today is going to be a day of choosing what you believe versus having your default programming or fears or worries run, or should I say ruin, your life. All right, so there's lots we have to look forward to in this conversation today. So let's just start it out with a prayer and then we'll move forward. Dear God, thank you. Thank you that what we currently see in our lives is not the outcome, is not the end of the story, is not the it doesn't seem like it's going to happen life, that it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Today, we do not focus on external appearances, but instead we look within our hearts. We look to you, which means we look to truth and we look to unlimited opportunity and possibility. We are not going to be manipulated by what we are currently seeing in our life. Whether there's a diagnosis that's concerning, whether there's limited funds in a bank account, whether there's just no decent date on the horizon. But we look instead to seeking you and the highest path that you have for us. Because we know with you there is no lack. We know that with you there is only love, joy, abundance, and prosperity. We know that to the degree that we are not experiencing total fulfillment in our life means that we're not being punished, but we aren't hearing or we're not seeing what you intend for us to hear and see. Because we know that with you, the divine direction is always available. And I gotta admit, sometimes we really wish you would speak louder than a whisper. But we're not gonna ask for you to speak louder than a whisper. We're gonna ask that we slow down enough so that we hear your voice and it is crystal clear to us. We ask that you would show us how to pay more attention to the whispers so that you don't have to yell. We ask that you would change us, evolve us, transform us so that we are very in tune and attuned with how you would have us move forward. And we pray this believing. Amen. Okay. So one of the questions that I am getting in my DMs, that I'm seeing in my Q Club, in my Mastermind, is this combination of, okay, I'm not into the hustle and grind culture, like that's just not how I'm going to do life. But how much do I, quote unquote, wait for the miracle and trust and believe and have faith that I can draw the experience to me? And how much do I actually take action? And it is an inquiry that I live in also. And I think that I know that the more that we're actually really devoted to understanding that for us and our unique path and not thinking that it's going to be the same for someone else. I kind of liken it to eating, not just because I live in Italy, but you have to have the experience of not eating enough to know what's not enough and when your body's going to be hungry and it wasn't quite enough for you. And you have to have the experience of overeating to know when you just feel stuffed and you don't feel good and you realize that you ate too much, so that you can know what's not too little and what's not too much, but what's just right and what's just right for you. And because everybody's body is different, that's going to look different for everybody. And because our own bodies are different on different days, it's not this formulaic cookie cutter masculine linear Excel spreadsheet approach to spirituality that we want in life, that we think that we can control and predict everything. There's this certain amount of faith that goes on. So, some days when you're just not that hungry, you just don't eat that much and you just trust your body and you're not worried that if you don't eat enough that you're not going to be nourished or your brain's not going to work or you're going to faint or any of that stuff. You just know that you're just not as hungry that day and you let it be. And other days you're hungrier. You don't have to freak out that you're going to be gaining weight or turn it into a compulsion. So you're just a little bit hungrier that day. And so the same goes for our spiritual path in terms of there's going to be times of less action. There's going to be times of more action. As long as we're listening, we will learn. So transparently, I'm in a season of, I have been, since I moved to Italy, I've been in probably less action than I've ever been in. And to a degree, it has felt good because I've been spending time and attention in ways that I haven't as much, just a lot more being, a lot more reading, a lot more adventuring. And I craved that space. My body desired to do nothing for a while. And when I say nothing, I mean like sit and watch the sunset over the backyard or wander through a piazza or linger over a cappuccino or spend longer time reading or more time sleeping in or a longer time taking a bath. And now I kind of feel, I don't know if it's like Mars moved into a different house or what's going on exactly, but or it's spring, like I'm like feeling energized where I want to rev things up. I feel like communicating more. I've been enjoying, I don't know if you've been watching my reels on Instagram, but I've really wanted it to be a journey that we can all be on and something that would inspire you, whether or not you're in Italy, but creating kind of dreamier life images. And I also am writing all of the captions myself. So it's like my daily journal there. So if you want to go and check that out, you'll scroll back and see that. But the point is, like, I can feel myself not in the same season in spring that I did feel like in winter. And when you give yourself permission to kind of notice, okay, I didn't eat enough at that meal. I'm going to eat more at the next one. Or I ate a little more than felt really good in my body. I'm going to eat a little less next time. You can do the same thing with action. You don't have to judge yourself. You don't have to freak out. You don't have to make yourself wrong for overaction or underaction. Like, don't make yourself wrong for overeating or undereating. And pay attention. Like, debrief. Review your life. and your life choices to see what is going to be the best choice for you right now. And if you're a woman connected to her femininity, it's not going to be cookie cutter. It's not going to be the same. It's going to be as the mood inspires, which is not permission for creating chaos and unnecessary drama in your life. It's just allowing for instinct and inspiration and intuition to really be alive in your soul, like letting the Holy Spirit guide you. And you can't control God, nor would you want to. And you can't box in the Holy Spirit, nor would you want to. And if you are looking for a renewal, if you're looking for something fresh, if your, I don't know, relationship with your audience feels like it's just dead or minuscule or puny, or your relationship with your partner feels dead or minuscule or puny, or your bank account feels like it's just, on constant revive mode. We just know this is not the way of God in the abundant universe. So don't spend your time comparing, making yourself wrong, freaking out. Lean deeper in. Come from a place of gratitude, from positivity, from expecting your good to come to you. Okay, what would feel good today? How am I meant to show up today? How do I feel like shining my light today? And when you get out of should, when you give yourself permission to only do what delights you and excites you, you'll challenge yourself to not just be a woman who's going through the motions in life, but really having your yes be yes, really showing up when and where and with whom you want to. And when the things like plateau or feel dull, that's when you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. Or at least I'm not doing it in the same way. Because my God isn't plateau or dull or any of that. There's a spark and there's an aliveness and there's a vigor and there's a rejuvenation. And I think that springtime is that time for all of us where we're like, kind of getting out of that hibernation mode. And you're like, all right, there's certain things that I've been doing in my business, or there's certain things that I've been doing in my marriage or relationship or the dynamics with my kids and whatever that thing is for you, that quite frankly, I can't be the only woman who's just straight up bored. Like, there are dynamics that I have going on in my life that have been going on for so long that I don't know if I've just gotten used to the plateau, or if I've settled or feel defeated, or all of the above. Or maybe what I do know is that for the particular area I'm thinking of right now, other things were the priority. And when I didn't give this area love and attention, it's kind of plateaued / fizzled out, which doesn't feel great. It feels kind of low energy, not toxic energy, but just low. And I want things that are alive and vibrant and like fresh and scrumptious in my life. So I have a choice. I have a choice to quit. I have a choice to numb out. I have a choice to go into escapism. I have a choice to avoid all these things I wrote about in my book. Or I have a choice to approach it with a victorious mindset, even though I am anything but victorious in this particular area of my life. And I got to a place in my prayer life and my journaling where I was like, enough of the playing small and the playing safe and the just like, well, if God wanted it to be different, then it would be different. That's not God. That's called a spiritual bypass, Gina. And I know it. And so I'm approaching this area where I have not experienced the level of success that I desire. And I'm not letting that stop me. And I hope that the same thing is going on for you this spring, where there's this, sorry, Aussies, I know it's not spring for you, but work with me on this. where the season in our life is about rejuvenation and renewal and like, okay, I'm not going to sit here and tell myself that I've done everything I know to do and nothing works. That is not the mentality of a queen. I'm going to let my past be my wisdom, be like, okay, thank you. I can see if I do more of the same, I'm going to get more of the same or less. So, dear God, I'm looking to you. I have a much higher standard for this area of my life. I reverently expect so much more. I am absolutely grateful for what I have. So I am not coming in like a demanding, entitled way. But I am coming in with I know that there's so much more victory available. I know that there's so much more love and high vibeness and power available. I know that a transformation in this particular area of my life is 1000% possible. And I'm going to lean into that. And I am going to ask every day, what must open up in me for this area of my life to be transformed? In what other ways not can I or do I want to think, must I think? How else must I feel? What must I release from negativity to past resentments? I share this a lot with my mastermind women. I've gotten better, but I am still, how do I want to say it? Well, my judgmental self is probably the most honest way. Somebody I know did something yesterday, and I totally had a judgmental thought about it, and I thought that it was completely idiotic of this person to do this particular thing. And so when I finished my work day and sat down with Glenn for aperitivo hour, watching this beautiful sunset, and I was like, can you believe so-and-so? And I said, and because he knew what I was going to be talking about, and I said, cancel that, and I completely changed the subject. I at least stopped myself mid-sentence, so I'm going to give myself credit there. I'm not all the way there. And the point is, when we don't let any low vibeness, any gossip, any complaining, any comparison, any negativity, any jealousy, any judgment be impacting or impeding our ability to transform a particular area of our life, things feel a lot more light, a lot more peaceful, a lot more fun, exciting. There's so many better sentences I could have filled our energetic space with than what I was about to say. And whoever feels like they're at the end of their rope with a particular area, maybe it's a legal issue, maybe it's a divorce, maybe you've experienced the death of a loved one, maybe you just cannot take a particular family member or family dynamic as is any longer. You know, maybe it's the money story, the diagnosis, like that. We all have that area in our life where we're like, really? We've had so much blessing and so much success and so many beautiful, beautiful experiences in this wonderful life that we've been given. But this area, it's still there as is. Hasn't really budged, maybe a little, maybe it's even decreased. Let's be the women who raise our standards, who don't settle, who don't give up, who somehow dig in for that mustard seed size of faith. There has just got to be a way. There's got to be a way for me to be successful in this area of my life. There's got to be a way for me to shine my light in a brighter way. There's got to be a way for me to have a different experience, an experience that would thrill me and feel like an accurate reflection of who I am. And when you're willing to do the spiritual work, the personal development work, and the physical plane work, meaning take the action, the transformation exists. The transformation absolutely happens. And one of the things that I look to, and I've really trained my brain, it creates a much better experience, trust, is if you leave your brain unattended, it's going to go to all of the times when things didn't work out the way you wanted to. All of the times that you failed, all the times that you experienced less than or lack in some way. And so what I've done is I train my brain, and I have to like almost like physically force myself to go do this. All of the times where the complete transformation took place. And I'll do it in all different areas of my life so I don't get stuck in any way. And I'll say, Gina, do you remember when you called it dating the local loser rock stars of Detroit? You weren't dating them. You were codependent. You were paying for their dinners. You were showing up at their gigs. You were like, whatever. It was awful. It was boring. It was depressing. It was underwhelming, to say the least. And do you see how doing the work, being so committed to knowing and believing that you were meant to be with a king of a man who claimed you, that like, however, I don't even know how, we've been together since 1812, I think at this point, 18, 19 years later. I still get excited when this man walks through the door. Like he doesn't go to the grocery store without kissing me first. Like we love doing life and business and everything together. Like that was a major transformation from my beliefs about men to what I was experiencing in life, to feeling invisible with men and left behind and not enoughness in every way. I don't ever experience that with women. I don't ever experience not being enough, not being sexy enough, not being cherished enough. And I'm like, that's a major transformation. Okay. Look at family dynamics. Those almost took me out. That came really, really close to breaking me. And through the blessing of, I'll be like Snoop, I'd like to thank myself for not giving up. I would. And I had the blessing of incredible mentors, very, very, very skilled professionals on family dynamics that helped me not get engulfed, swallowed up, lost, left behind, invisible, make myself wrong, make bad choices. Like I became who I am as a result of healing and transforming, and I'm just in a completely different emotional place. I see the different family members entirely differently. I don't take things personally anymore. Like that's a trust, a massive, massive transformation. Then there's the money story. You know, I was $75,000 in debt. I was working 75 hours a week as a psychotherapist on sliding scale rates, afraid to charge my worth. You couldn't even pay me full rate if you tried. People would call and be like, all right, would like to work with you. How much is your session? I remember saying it's $100, but the sliding scale rate is 50. Like they didn't even have a chance. Like, that's how weak and broken and fear-based and lack of wealth consciousness I had. Being $75,000 in debt, living off of $2,000 a month, being 30 years old, living at home with my parents, to just having a bigger dream for myself. I didn't know how I was ever going to live into that life that I dreamed of making a difference in people's lives, of speaking on stages, of traveling around the world, of having a global brand, my request every single month was to make $2,000 because that's how much my bills were. And on a good month, I would make $2,000. On a not so great month, I would make $1,800, so just less than enough. And so my best month brought me back to zero every single, and then I had to start it all over again. It took me a hot minute to realize, Gina, you have not because you ask not. So why don't you ask for $5,000? And that, you would have thought I did like an ayahuasca ceremony on myself. That blew my mind wide open. So wide, like I couldn't even imagine what it would be like to make $5,000 in a month when my bills were like having 2.5 months of bills ahead of time was crazy pants to me. But it was my desire, and somehow, some way, when I would keep listening to the desires of my heart, God would speak, and I would eventually hear, and I would take action on it, and it would work. And then I did it again and again and again to transform. I mean, all I wanted was to get out of debt, be able to take a flight to Italy, hire a team member. Like, I remember I told somebody once, like, I'm going to make 6 figures. Like, I'm going to do it. And a very well-meaning person who loved me a lot was like, you can't make that kind of money. Well, there's a different desire in me. And there's a different desire in you for what you currently have. Like, if you're even listening to this, you have a very blessed life on a lot of levels in many ways. And that doesn't have to be enough for you. And that doesn't make you ungrateful. In fact, it makes you in tune with who God created you to be. That yes, you are about more. You're about growth, not more in the grabbing and nothing is ever enough place, but in the unlimited sense of the word, that you want to keep evolving and keep experiencing. You don't want same old, and status quo isn't okay for you. You're here for the transformation. And sometimes it's the external, sometimes it's the internal, sometimes it's the personal, sometimes it's the professional. I have had to transform pretty much every area of my life. I remember when I moved to LA and I had no friends, and it's like I would do the transformational work on attracting a high vibe group of friends, and then I outgrew a lot of those people and had to do it again, and then moved to Italy and didn't know a lot of people here, and it's like now it's like I literally can't even keep up with all of the social magnetization that is coming to me here because of the transformational work I did before. It's like now, like when you get stronger with things, you can like think about it and it's going to come in. Before, I needed to do the mantras and I'd write it down, and I would spend hours and hours working on the energy of it. When you heal an area of your life, you're healed. Like, I think that there's probably always new areas for us to up level in that will require a healing, but you don't have to keep healing the same thing for your entire life. I mean, if you do, you do. I don't have a judgment on that. I'm just saying I can see where I used to be insecure and not feel like I belonged in a social circle. I healed that work. I came here. I know that I'm going to be attracting the most interesting, exciting, soulful, warm, generous humans that live in Florence. Like, and not because I'm cocky, but because I know who my God is. And I know the Spirit of God lives within me. And so like attracts like, and that's a done deal. Other areas I grapple with more. And so when we are available to hone the energy, to be available for the full transformation, to not give up, life gets really exciting. And it's not meant to be miserable. And I don't believe it has to get worse before it gets better. I wish I didn't have to have breakdowns before I got the breakthroughs, but I still do that too. But what I know for sure is that transformation in every area of our lives can take place. The healing can take place. It's not that Glenn and I have no issues, but that stuff that I healed back then, it's healed. Like I don't chronically deal with men issues in that way. Not anymore. And so as a culture, as a society, as women, if we prioritize our needs, our desires, what fuels us, what our desires are more, we're going to see more healing. We're going to see way more dazzling lives. We're going to have so much more fun. We're not going to feel guilty for making money or spending money or shining our light or living our best lives. It's what we're here for. It's why God created us to be this way. It's why we don't feel good when our lives aren't thriving and in alignment. There's a reason women are depressed. There's a reason why women are anxious. Because when we're in alignment with God, the manifestations take place, the transformations take place. So does it require time, attention, resources? Yes, but so does being sick and depressed. So I'd rather put it all into getting what I absolutely love in life. And that is totally available for you as well. In fact, it's one of the reasons why I create the spaces that I do. I do this work on myself as a way of life because it's what I offer in the world. I think it's like the way a personal trainer works out every day and also hires personal trainers to work them out, even though they quote unquote know what to do. There's always more to learn. There's always a higher level of accountability. There's always a mirroring, witnessing that needs to happen. And so I create the containers and spaces that I do so that you have a place, a high vibe place to transform. And I am so excited to invite you to my Transformation in Tuscany 3-day retreats. You can check out the link in the show notes, or you can go to divineliving.com/Tuscany. For you to get away and have some time and space in literally the epicenter of the Renaissance. Do you think 3 days with me, with you, with a group of high vibe women there in a luxurious setting, using the energy from this territory, that you're not going to have your own personal Renaissance? If you show up open-hearted, open-minded, you're going to see God swoon in ways you didn't even imagine was possible for you. And how do I know this? It's not because of me and my human abilities. It's not even because of the fantastic locations that I do select. It's because how I've seen God work in the lives of women for 20 years. When you get in these intimate settings where you're really seen and witnessed, and when the coaching transformation comes in, you can't experience anything but life-changing insights, new friends and connections that you can't even imagine not having in your life at this point. You know, it's my honor and joy to have the skills that have been honed within me and to use them in a way that's going to get you unstuck, get you clear, more confident, thriving in whatever ways are important for you. And I got to tell you, I had a new girlfriend over for brunch yesterday, and we were talking, and I said, I think that right now is actually more difficult for many women than even during the pandemic. I think the pandemic was a big shakeup. It had us question, what are we doing with our lives? Many women were questioning, why am I in this marriage or this relationship? Or why am I slaving away at this job I don't even like? Or why am I letting myself be so stressed and forcing myself to go into an office I don't want to go to? Or showing up in the business the way I am? So the questions all started. And then I think we all knew there was going to be this buffer. Like, well, we don't have to do anything about it because we can't really yet. We can't really go anywhere. We can't really do anything. But when the world opens up, then we're going to make these grand changes in our lives. Well, now the world has opened up. And I see women on the precipice of major decisions. I've seen a lot of loss, like women, many women having lost humans that they were very, very close to, married to, engaged to. I've seen legal issues like occur, like there's like big stuff going on, and not to mention and what do I really want from my life? And so that's why I create these spaces for you to come and not only ask these questions, but get the answers that you seek. Have it be revealed to you so clearly what the up level is in your life. And to do it in a luxurious space, and you're going to be sitting literally in the heart of Florence and overlooking the rooftops, seeing the Arno float on by. Come join, take advantage of this exquisite opportunity. There's a couple of dates, and select the one that's right for you. Maybe grab a girlfriend or someone you care about. It's a really important time for women like us to hone our spiritual connection. So we know when to not act and then when to take action. That we get great at making excellent decisions for ourselves, and that we're confident in these decisions. There's so much in us that when we have kind of like mastered the instrument of us, then we can go play our music beautifully. All right, my darlings. So transformation in Tuscany it is. Get yourself registered. I do keep these retreats very intimate and exclusive, so there's not a lot of space. If you know this is for you, get yourself registered to save your spot. And I can't wait to hug you on the rooftops of the the rooftop of this gorgeous hotel overlooking the Arno. Chin chin.